Welcome back to the Fans the Home Team podcast. This is Kelsey, and this episode is going to be my interview with my friend Ty Van Duyn. Ty is an avid Atlanta Braves fan who've recently achieved some success in baseball by winning the World Series last year. I spoke with Ty pretty shortly after the Braves won it all, got his take on the whole thing, his emotions, what he was going through in the moment, and just what the World Series win meant to him. Before we get started with the interview, I want to preface with, like I said, we recorded before Freddie Freeman left Atlanta and signed with the Dodgers. Ty made it known in the interview at the time that he really felt like Freeman was going to re-sign with the Braves. And you can tell when you listen just how much Freddie has meant to him and meant to the entire Braves nation. Sometimes when we post sometime after the actual recording, I'll take out portions that are outdated or don't make sense anymore because something like this has happened. I elected to keep this part in because it shows how much Freddie Freeman truly meant to the Braves and highlights that sports is a business at the end of the day. Sometimes a thing that would make the most sense in our heart and our gut just doesn't work out, but that's the reality of sports. Without further ado, here's the interview that I did with Ty. Ty, how did you become an Atlanta Braves fan?
So I was born into it. My mom's from Middle Georgia. I have a lot of family in Middle Georgia. First ever sporting event I went to was a Braves game. I was too young to remember it, but there's a lot of pictures of me there. And I like to think I was having a good time, but I always just loved baseball, and the Braves were my team. Growing up, the Little League team was always the Braves. So I just grew up rooting for them. When you grow up rooting for a team, that's your team. You're never going to get rid of them. They're just part of your lifestyle at that point. So yeah, here I am.
My dad always likes to tell me he's a Red Sox fan. The first sporting event I went to was a Red Sox game. I was one. He's like, I guess it was too young for you to stick because I went to regular and I was 6. So that stuck for me.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
what were some of your earliest memories then being a Braves fan?
The earliest one I remember is probably as a little kid running the bases at Turner Field. It was called Tudor Field. It was a kids section at Turner Field, like a little mini field and everything. And as we were running through those, I always thought it was super cool. I don't remember what the exact year it was, but the year that Warner Robins Little League won the Little League World Series, I went to a Braves game and they were there. And I thought that was cool because they were like 3 or 4 years older than me. But to me, I'm like, oh, those are celebrities at the Braves game. And like I was playing like Wii Sports with them and stuff. I thought I was doing the coolest thing in the world. Yeah, it was just like little memories you have as a kid that looking back, it's like that's such a small thing, but it means a lot to you.
How many games were you guys getting out to per year? Did you live pretty close?
I live in Jacksonville, Florida, so I was still a good 4.5, 5 hours away from Atlanta. So it wasn't like I could just go anytime. But I'd say growing up, I made it to a game every season. Like the closest I came to not was this past season, ironically, when I moved closer to Georgia, just 'cause I was so busy with work. But I still made it out to a couple regular season games. And then obviously one of the big playoff games is the Dodgers, which was worth every penny I paid for.
Was that the first Braves playoff game you've been to, or you've been to others before then?
It's the first Braves playoff game I've been to, but I don't think that means too much, seeing how we haven't had too much playoff success growing up. And last year, of course, was COVID when they made it to the NLCS. So obviously,
I feel like your favorite memories, probably the World Series, I'm assuming. So what did that mean to you and the Braves community in general?
everyone who's a fan knows the feeling. Like it's so hard to describe to someone who's not a fan, who doesn't watch sports like that. You feel like you're a part of it. You feel like you played that part. I should have put them on for this. I had my Jock Peterson pros. I didn't take them off. I wore them every game since the NLCS, and I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of them. You feel like that played a part into it. When you're used to a team like the Braves who are known to choke, they don't have much postseason success. You've never seen them do anything. You're 22 years old. You've never watched a professional team even make a championship game. So it's like you're used to that. So the whole time in game 6, we were up 7-0, and I'm still sitting there watching the TV, waiting for the collapse. Every inning, waiting for us to collapse, waiting for us to lose. And around the 8th inning, I just started smiling nonstop. And I'm like, we're about to win the World Series. Last inning started, I FaceTime one of my oldest friends that I've known my whole life, also a Braves fan. We were just at this bar in Macon, and people I was with, none of them are Braves fans. They're just there for the fact they want to see the Braves. And I'm like, let's go, because I want to watch us to win. That's my team. So I went away from them, just FaceTime my friend, and I'm like, I want to share this with like someone else who's a Braves fan. So we're sitting there watching together. ground ball, Dansby, throw it to Freddie. Game's over. I watched Freddie put his hands in the air. No one deserved a World Series more than Freddie Freeman. I started to tear up. I'm like, I cannot believe that this is real. Everyone around is like cheering. I'm just like, I'm just in my own world at that moment, just like soaking it all in. This was a very surreal experience as a fan to actually watch your team win a championship. And I love how cheesy it sounds to a non-sports fan, but that's just how sports work.
Remember feeling so similar in 2016 when the Cubs won, obviously. No one really around me was a Cubs fan at that point. I have a lot of non-sports friends, so they didn't really get it, but it's crazy. Very similar stories, teams that don't do well normally and finally broke through and won it. So, and then you cry.
Winning the NLCS might have even been bigger to me personally and more surreal because I always thought we had a chance against the Astros. I thought the Dodgers were going to smoke the Braves. And game 6, it was a pretty tight game. It wasn't like we took over at all. I was actually driving during the 7th inning. The Dodgers had bases loaded, and Tyler Matzik came out and struck out 3 guys in a row. And I was listening to it on the radio, just like, there's no, I was like, give so many runs. That was such a surreal experience. We were going to a bar to go out with some of our friends. I was watching it there. Everyone there were Braves fans. It was a more college town. And the kind of the same thing. I was there, me and my other friend, we got that last out. The same thing, Freddie up, and we just hugged each other. We've never seen a World Series. Like, we're going to a World Series. It's real. It's in our lifetime. I was on a second deck, just leaning over a rail, doing the same thing. Ears in the head, not paying attention to anything. There was no sound or nothing. And I look down, and I see my friend. He's looking at me. I look next to him. 2 other friends who just got there, they're all just staring at me. I was probably doing that for like a minute straight, just in my own room, and they're just looking at me. I was like, yep, I'm taking it in. That's just how it is. I like being in the moment. No cameras, just vibes. That's what I say.
Just vibes. Getting through a series against the Dodgers when you're in the National League is just like, that's insane.
No one expected to.
You don't expect it. Like you said, getting to the World Series is another level because you don't get it, you miss it, you chalk it up. That was another year. But once you get there, then it's a special year. And then obviously winning is the best part. But getting there is such a battle, especially when you're facing teams like the Dodgers. The only game I saw this year, I was in Philadelphia visiting my sister, and it was against the Braves. It was like right after the Cubs had traded Jock over to Atlanta as well.
Thank you, by the way. We appreciated him very much.
That was the first domino that kind of fell to ruin my life, basically, but made absolutely no sense. Just another Cubs ownership thing.
Yeah, it is what it is.
What have been some of your biggest heartbreaks over the years watching the Braves?
Number one, obviously, was last year. It's the Dodgers. Like when we up 3-1 in the series, that was before I had the caution of going up 3-1 this year because we did it again. I thought it was over 3-1. We're making the World Series. Acuna, Ozuna, they're so good. We're going to beat them. And then we lost game 5, thrashed. And it was like, okay, no big deal. It's game 5. Game 6, that's the one where Mookie robs that home run and the Dodgers ended up winning. And game 7 was just so tight, no one scored. Bellinger hit that home run. That put me in a spot because I was like, kidding me? Because that was like 3-1. I was like going on that same thing this year where I was like, we've never done this. We're finally breaking through the ceiling. And then we did a breakthrough. And it was like, well, what's going to happen? And then there's just other random ones. There's just a bunch of postseason failures. The year we had like 21 game win streak and then lost immediately in the first round. That was the bummer. Giving up 10 runs to the Cardinals in the first inning. Just take any postseason that wasn't this year. And those are my worst memories.
Going up 3-1, it's always a trap, right?
You just think it's over, and it's never over in baseball.
Who have been some of your favorite players from throughout the years?
Oh, I mean, growing up, I probably can name the 05 roster just as good as the 21 roster. Chipper Jones, Ed Hampton, people that are like, honestly not big names. Mike Hampton's on a big name, but everyone growing up in that early 2000s era are definitely my favorite. I'd say Chipper Jones has always been my favorite player, but growing up more as I'm older, watching Freddie Freeman, everything Freddie's done, staying with us through the rebuild, basically telling him we're going to suck for 3 or 4 years, and we want you to be our cornerstone. And he signs up for it. He's fully integrated into the Braves culture. He buys into it. And then last year, he gets his MVP. This year, he gets his World Series, and he hit that home run in Game 6. That was huge. He deserves it all. I think he's up there right now, and now that there's a World Series, when he signs, I don't care what people say, he's going to re-sign with the Braves. It's just a matter of time after the lockout. When he resigns and finishes his career as a Brave, he might end up being the number one all the time, right up there with him and Aiken, the way his career's going for me. and what he's meant for the team. Which is a hot take, but
you gotta be ahead of the hot takes, right? To me,
Definitely.
Freddie Freeman is to the Braves what Anthony Rizzo was to the Cubs, right?
And they are so similar too. They love each other. The moment earlier in the season when they had Rizzo mic'd up and he's chasing Freddie down, one of my how can you not be romantic about baseball? It's grown men playing a kid's sport. That's the best. That's as good as it gets.
That's one of many reasons why I was upset letting Anthony Rizzo go. He's essentially the guy that starts it all, and you just let a dude like that walk instead of giving him the captaincy and making him retire Cub.
Yeah, that hurts.
So hopefully the Braves don't do the same thing, because it's really
looking on wood.
gut punch.
I'm feeling safe, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe not as crappy voters. If you're the GM, what are some things you're doing to help the team try to build out this dynasty here?
The first thing you do is you re-sign Freddie. Quite honestly, I would blank check him. That dude is your cornerstone. I don't care that he's 32. You hand him a blank check. I think 6 years, 200 million is about what he's worth in sign around. But if you look at our team is young. We have decent prospects coming in. I think it's Baseball America does their projected lineups 5 years down the line. And if you look at the Braves, 7 of the 9 are already on the MLB team. We have a good young team. I'd say the big importance to me is getting back some of our free agents. I think Jorge Soler, we need to get back. And then just one more outfielder who can just kind of be that strong hitter. Because Christian Pache, great defensive center fielder, dude can't hit the broadside of the barn right. Which he can get better. He's a very young player, but having that revolving door in the outfield that we had this year is interesting. But at this point, it's all about retain who you have, keep the guys you have. You have a great core. You have great young pitchers. Don't let them walk. It sounds so simple to me. I'm not a GM. Just don't let the guys walk, and we'll have a great team. I love where we are right now. That's the biggest thing, right? I saw the Baseball America thing, and I looked at the Cubs, and I straight up was like, oh my God. Who are those people? It's who are they?
I'm I'm going back to 2012. We're going 60 and 100. We're rebuilding again for no reason. How would you describe the Braves community in 1 or 2 words, and why? Very strong and loyal. Depends on who you ask, especially this year. If you watch the Braves, we had the most easily rootable team in the world. 1 through 9, so easy to root for. There wasn't that guy who's oh, that guy's a jerk, or this guy has this scandal. Those was all team. But 1 through 9, such a fun team. Eddie Rosario out of nowhere hitting 400. John Peterson is pearls. And then the community really gets around the Braves like that. A lot of baseball people. Jared Carrabis is one. He's a Red Sox guy, Barstool, all that stuff. No affiliation with the Braves. Says it Braves' favorite fans in the MLB, because they weren't ever that upper echelon team. The fans always treated them as their own team as they were. They always rooted for them. Even in the down years, all the fans were with the Braves. They have great attendance, and it's just a great community. There's always going to be, especially when you get in social media, there's always going to be that pocket of fans that sucks, that makes the team look bad, and they're usually the loudest ones. But as a whole, it's a very strong community, which I love. Especially since moving to Georgia, it's fun because I get to meet all kinds of new Braves fans, so it's even better. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything bad or negative about Braves fans in general, which always seem to be a good group of people, and when you got Yankees and Astros fans, so it's easy to not be bad. Yeah, and we had back-to-back series against the Dodgers and the Astros, so it made our fan base look way better when we were going against those two. Right, everybody's rooting for anybody against the Astros at this point. Exactly. Last question: if you could articulate what the Braves fandom has meant to you over the years, what would you say? I root for a lot of teams. But I'm on record multiple times, if you looked at my Twitter, saying I will trade every team I root for, going winless for 5 seasons to watch the Braves win series. That's the first thing I rooted for. I was from Jacksonville. I love the Jaguars, but it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Braves are different. They are my team. It's hard to explain to someone. I think out of all the sports, baseball, super fans of baseball are the hardest ones to understand. Try to explain to your friend that for 4 hours, you're going to live and die by every single pitch thrown. There's over 200 pitches thrown in the game, and every single one, and especially in the World Series, has an edge of my seat. I'm clinching, hoping to throw that strike. Don't let that ball get hit out. It's so hard to describe what it means. Winning a World Series made all the years of all that pain worth it. I love sports. That's what sports are for there. When it's happening, when I'm watching this, when the World Series, there's no work, there's no responsibilities.
For those 4 hours, I honestly didn't care what else was going on around me. I was a Braves fan. I worked the next morning after the World Series. I didn't go to bed till like 5 a.m. because nothing mattered. We won over World Series. It's like, that's
Mhm.
my team. I love sports. I love the Braves and that way of you can just shut down everything around you, just focus on that. And it makes you happy.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to Ty for doing this interview with me and giving us an insight into your Braves fandom. Congrats again on the World Series win last season. Next episode is going to be Miranda and I talking about our biggest sports pet peeves, and it's really going to be a good one. You don't want to miss it. Check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of the episode. This is our one-stop shop for you to find all of our social media accounts, and also sign up to share your fandom story with us. So you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. Please take some time to leave us a review. It really does help and makes our days. Thank you again, and we'll see you next Wednesday.